Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the album Strappado by the band Slaughter. This is their first and only album, and it was released in 1987. So before I get into it, I'm just going to name off the band members really quick. Ron Summers on drums, Terry Sadler on bass and vocals, and Dave Hewison on lead vocals and guitar. So this album starts off with the song Strappado, the title track, and it's the weakest song on the album. It's super short and just not memorable whatsoever. Yeah, kind of a weak way to start off the album, but luckily, the album gets better from here. Alright, so the next song is called The Curse. Okay, this song I think should have started off the album. Super heavy, super thrashy, and it has a very menacing but also catchy chorus to it. That's just really, really cool, very eerie. Yeah, again, this should have started off the album instead of the title track. But yeah, The Curse, great song. The next song is called Disintegrator, which is very short, and honestly, it feels less like a standalone track, and more like a sort of an intro track to the next song, which is, the next song is called Incinerator. And yeah, the Disintegrator definitely sounds more or less an intro to the next track, Incinerator. And Incinerator is actually my favorite song on here. This has probably the most thrashy riff to it on the entire album. Yeah, sure, it is definitely, like, the entire album is thrash metal, but this riff is probably one of my favorite thrash metal riffs of all time. Super fast, super aggressive, very gritty, and almost kind of muddy sounding in the mix, but that just adds to this song so much. And it has a very cool, very wild, chaotic, frenzied guitar solo that just perfectly goes with the rest of the song, and the vocals on this one are just super aggressive and just very, very sinister sounding. The next song is called Parasites, another great song. This one also is like super, I wouldn't say as thrashy, but it definitely is very like, aggressive and just very, just a very good thrash metal song overall. Yeah, and it has sort of like a groove to the riff on this one where it feels, I don't know, it just feels like a very sort of like, groove-laden, not super numb, but it feels like a little bit groove-laden, just enough to where it just, feels like a very sharp riff. But yeah, Parasites, great song. Then the next song is called One Foot in the Grave. This one is, decent. It doesn't necessarily feel like a filler song, but it definitely has some of that element to it. Like, it is memorable, but it does kind of feel like, it feels like they're kind of like, at least for the song, not knowing exactly what they want. It has some elements that fit, some elements that are just like, okay. It's a decent song, but definitely kind of hinges on sort of, filler track territory at times. But it's a decent song. Then the next song is another amazing song, very sinister. F.O.D., aka Fuck of Death. This is probably the most sinister sounding song on the album, maybe besides Torture Souls. Yeah, this is The heaviest riff on the entire album is contained in this song. Very heavy, very almost doomy, very just sinister, and just it feels like it almost feels like a death metal riff, kinda. It doesn't go all out with that, but it does feel kind of edging on death metal riff territory at times, and it's just a very cool song. Again, great riffing. And this probably has my second favorite guitar solo on the album. Again, just like with the solo on Incinerator, very wild, chaotic, and just full of just chaos and energy. Yeah, the vocals are really cool on this one as well. The next song is called Tortured Souls. Another kind of doomy, sort of just moody kind of song. And I love there's this, like, I think it happens twice throughout the song, where, like, they have this very sort of, like, almost demonic vocal sound effect over the actual vocals. Not throughout the entire song, but there are two parts here that when the lyrics called when the lyrics are "We are the tortured souls," that part has two parts on this song. Both parts, one in the earlier part of the song, one later, and in those particular lyrics, in that area, they do have sort of like a vocal effect, and it's not an annoying vocal effect or something that kind of sounds cheesy or ridiculous or anything, but it sort of is sort of like almost like an very welcomed addition to the sinister nature of this song. But yeah, great song. The next song is called Nocturnal Hell. Yeah, this one's also really good. It kind of honestly feels like sort of like, I wouldn't say the same as Tortured Souls, but it definitely has some elements there that I think maybe possibly it was those two were all one song at one point, and then they just split it up. Again, I'm not sure. It probably isn't, but it kind of feels like that at times. And yeah, just Nocturnal Hell is a very good song. And then the album closes with Tales of the Macabre. In terms of vocals, I would say this is probably the most almost like a crossover thrash in a way. Not the instrumentation, but definitely the vocals. Yeah, I also really love the lyrics on this one, especially in the part where it was like talking about sort of like mind controlling people and sort of turning them into like almost zombie, not almost like zombie like servants, like almost like some kind of like weird like black magic sort of voodoo thing where like it has like a what was it? Oh, it has like almost like a sort of like mythical feel to the lyrics where it's just like this like a I don't know. It feels like it's shit. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it feels like it's sort of cheesy at times, especially lyrically. But it's not a bad sort of cheesy. It's sort of like a fun kind of cheesy, and yeah, it's just a very cool song and great way to end the album. All right, so for the artwork. For the artwork, it's actually pretty cool, very detailed too. You get sort of like I'm gonna say this is like a castle or like maybe even a dungeon. And you get these like skeletons that are like working this winch, almost like this torture device. And you get this skeleton here that's in the torture device, like if I remember correctly, I think Strappado is actually a foreign word for a type of torture method, and again, if I remember correctly, this is what it's depicting, like a, I might be wrong about this, but I think the torture method was like, that you're like tied to these two ropes that are attached to this winch. Your one foot is tied behind your back, and the other foot is like tied just like straight down. And with this winch thing, every time the winch gets wound up, your foot just like gets more and more sort of like behind your back and just goes up, and eventually the muscle and bone snaps from the winch hoisting your leg up so far behind your back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what the name is. It's a name of a torture method. And you can see you got two different kinds of skeletons. You got these ones that are like very slimy, very just very like almost looks like they have like strips of clothing. One looks like it's like covered in moss, and then you have the skeleton that's actually being tortured, which looks like he's some kind of like medieval warrior with all the armor on. Also, the logo. The logo looks really cool, very unique. Actually, it kinda, in a way, reminds me of the Steeler logo. From not the German band, but the U.S. band that had Yngwie Malmsteen on guitar. And just the way the font is, kind of, in a way, reminds me of that. Their logo. As for the back, there's not much to it. It's just the name of the album as well as the name of the band. You got the song titles here. You got the band right there. Anyway, so overall, I love this album. Now, oddly enough, some people consider this a death metal album, and no, it's definitely a thrash metal album. It does have some death metal elements sprinkled out, mainly in the heavy riffing, but it's not so rooted in that to the point where it sounds death metal. I'd say it's kind of similar to Possessed Seven Churches. Although the vocals are definitely a lot more death metal on that. But in terms of, like, the actual instrumentation, it's definitely a lot more thrashy. This one, I mean, here's the thing. Thrash metal at this time was getting very heavy, to the point where, eventually, not too long after death metal sort of became a thing. And this was in '87, and Scream Bloody Gore came out that same year, along with another album I can't remember the name of, but it's by the band. I can't remember the name of that one now. Yeah. Oh wait, Necrophagia. Necrophagia released an album the same year, and so it is definitely, this album definitely came out the year that death metal was, I guess, first sort of like let loose. So I understand why people consider this death metal, but for me, it definitely is a lot more a thrash metal album with. I'd say it's one of the heaviest thrash metal albums, but it's still a thrash metal album. For the vocals, I love the vocals. The vocals are definitely a lot like I wouldn't say classic thrash metal, but they kind of sound like almost crossover thrash-ish, especially on Tortured Souls. I love the vocals. Instrumentation, I love the instrumentation on this album. It goes very well with the actual overall production. The overall production is super gritty, super muddy, very lo-fi, but it works very well with the instrumentation, which kind of resembles it kind of just melds very well with the actual, production. Overall, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Really, the only weak point on this album is the title track. Very boring and forgettable, but the rest of the songs are all really, really good. But yeah, it's a 9 out of 10. Alright, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.